it's Kamil for HMV. We're at 2000 Trees with
Frank Turner.
So I actually interviewed one of the organisers, James Scarlett, a few weeks back, and he dubbed you Mr. 2000 Trees. What kind of brings you back to the festival?
I mean, James, he keeps asking, and here I am. I mean, it's worth saying that, like, I played the first 2000 Trees. I think I played here like 7 or 8 times. I can't really remember now at this point. But like, to the extent that what I do fit into any kind of box, scene, whatever words you want to use, that's kind of typified by 2000 Trees. I feel like this is kind of my respect for James and his brothers who organised this is endless, and they've made it this kind of annual community hub for a certain scene of music. And to the extent that I fit in here, I feel very welcome. Do you know what I mean? They named one of the campsites after me. So you know,
absolutely, and that signifies you're kind of the staple in this community at this point. One of my friends has a Frank Turner tattoo. I'm camping with that. Is that? Do you think that's empowering, or is there kind of a feeling of responsibility with it?
Responsibility. I mean, it's very. What's the words I'm looking for? It's flattering. It's kind of reassuring in a way as well. It's kind of, you know, I travel all over the world doing what I do, and we do well in some places, and some places more of a slog and all the rest of it. And then you come to 2000 Trees, and it's just like it's like walking into a warm house on a winter's day. Take your jacket off. Do you know what I mean? So, but you know, I mean, my overwhelming feeling is that I'm grateful for it. Do you know what I mean? I've been doing this for a really long time now, and like the fact that there are still people who care about what I do is not something I take for granted. Let's say that.
Of course. Well, as you've been doing this a while, touring, are you coming up to 3,000 gigs now?
Yes, my 3,000 solo show, I should say, because I did gigs in other bands that don't count. My 3,000 solo show is in February next year. So yes, quite a few.
So would you have any tips for any bands that are, you know, getting into touring, how to stay sane, how to have fun in a responsible way?
Yeah, I mean, I think that like there's a stereotype about touring that it's an endless stag do. And I think that that's unhealthy. I've had some wild times on tour and I've really enjoyed myself, but I definitely went through a phase where my kind of health, both physical and mental, was teetering a little bit. And like ultimately it's okay to go to bed sometimes. And I think the thing for me, the most important part of touring is playing music. If you don't feel like that, then possibly do something else anyway. Do you know what I mean? It's just like the bit where you get to play for people is the highlight, or it should be. Do you know what I mean? And like, but what I like about that, and again, this perhaps wasn't always true for me, but it's like there is a self-imposed discipline in that. It's like you can do anything you want 22 hours a day, but you've got to be good for an hour and a half or whatever it is. And that's it's quite cool focus. You know what I mean? It's like that means, you know, if you need more sleep to play well, then get more sleep. Do you know what I mean? If you need a night off the booze, have a night off the booze. You know,
listen to your body.
Yeah, right. Do you know what I mean? And just sort of like remember that the reason you're doing it is to play well. If you're playing crappy shows because you've been partying too much, then have a word. Do you know what I mean?
Of course. With obviously HMV, we deal with physical music. I was wondering how much value you put on physical music for, you know, acts that are a bit more established, but maybe coming up. We kind of see it as a source for revenue compared to streaming, but I want to get your thoughts.
I mean, there's lots of economic angles on it. It is a source of revenue, and I mean, you know, there's a part of me that thinks that people invest more in something they've spent more money on, I suppose, or whatever. You know, vinyl's great because you can hold it, you know, and you can hit people with it, and whatever else. But I don't know. For me, I mean, I grew up before the internet, so I'm old-fashioned like that. But you know, streaming is good, and there are many good things about streaming. I mean, I think the fact that distribution has become so democratized is really important. I think that's really cool. When I was a kid, getting your music out into the world was hard, and now it's quite easy to upload songs to Spotify, or Bandcamp or wherever else, you know. So that is a positive. But like ultimately, yeah, my conception of music was formed at a point in time where you have physical records, and that's how I always think about it, and it is important to me.
Yeah, and as you mentioned a little bit, it's when you buy a record, buy a CD, you are buying into the artist because you're spending money directly on them rather than a service. So
yeah, well, it's also just that thing of like, you know, the problem I think, and I'm far from the first person to say this, but like music becomes kind of disposable if it's free, essentially. And like, you know, when I was a kid, you'd spend 15 quid on a CD, and it didn't matter if it sucked, you're going to listen to it a lot because you spent 15 bloody quid on the thing. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, there was a sense of investment in it. I think also this ties into the fact that again, I'm old-fashioned enough to believe in the album. Do you know what I mean? Like, when I make music, I make albums. Do you know what I mean? I write songs, obviously, but like, there's definitely a sense. I would like it if people would listen to the whole thing. I can't control that, but that's how I conceptualize it.
You say old-fashioned, but we spoke with Bob Villain yesterday, and Bobby said the exact same thing. Like, I write music as albums, as actual projects. So
I mean, it is an art form in and of itself. Do you know what I mean? The 45 minutes, 50 minutes of music, or indeed 28 if you're Slayer doing Rain and Blood. But so yeah, there is a kind of coherence to that, which I quite like, and it requires a bit more attention span. But it's a funny time because like everyone bangs on about, you know, TikTok destroying everyone's attention span or whatever, and there is some truth in that, but we also live in an age of like 4-hour podcasts and like 28 million episode TV shows, so I think people definitely have an attention span. It's just trying to engage that.
Absolutely. And you know, you make an album, put it in a store, someone goes in and might fall in love with a girl at a store. But thank you for sitting down with me, Frank.
Yeah, my pleasure,
it's been
man.
a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you very much.
Have a look forward to your set.
Thanks. You very much, man. Cheers. Thank you. Awesome. That was painless.
Good, that's how we like it. Hey, thanks for watching the video. If you like this type of content, if you'd like to see more interviews at festivals, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you at the next one.
Gang, gang.